Hello everyone, my dear friends, students, listeners. We continue our short course developing GUI apps with Python. We exploring a very popular Python library, tkinter, and we cover step by step the most essential widgets, visual elements you can use to build forms. Last lesson was radio buttons, radio groups. Today we are going to talk about list boxes. The idea is similar to a radio group. You have many choices and you may select one of them. But in radio buttons, of course, the choices are limited by the space on the screen, but Listbox is unlimited because you can scroll, so it's more maybe versatile widget. The other advantage, Listbox may also allow you to select many items at a time, multiple selection. In my lesson, I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna keep it one choice list box, but technically speaking, nothing can prevent us from implementing list boxes with multiple choice. What you see right now is a new color mixer app. You see the mixing area at the top, and you see list boxes. So I can now choose from 11 grades of red, 11 grades of green, 11 grades of blue. So the amount or the number of the possible colors now it's a lot bigger than in the previous one. I think we used to have 27 colors with the radio buttons. Now it's 11 times 11, which is 1300 colors approximately you can create using new version of a color mixer. Because you have now you see list boxes may be much longer than the actual area of the screen they occupy. Obviously, you have to scroll. You have to go through the list. And right now, in this version, I can use just a keyboard, up and down keys. You see, I'm using up and down keys. By the way, using tab key, I can go from one list box to another list box. I can change the focus of my form, tab key. And also, I can scroll by using mouse wheel. So you see, I'm right now using my mouse wheel. I just position above my mouse, I activate list box, and now you see I can scroll using mouse wheel. Or another option to scroll is, of course, touchpad. You can use touchpad to scroll. Usually in order to scroll on a touchpad, we use two fingers gestures. But obviously touchpads exist only on laptops. Desktop computers don't have touchpads. Anyway, you see how it's working. And we can now talk about instantiation. any widget must be first instantiated and secondly added to the screen. By the way, layout is vertical, because I have a label at the top, I have a frame at the bottom, so my main layout is vertical, a label plus a frame, but inside the frame I have 6 widgets, as you see, and they are placed horizontally. So in a frame, my placement is different. By combining frames, by nesting frames, by changing placement from horizontal to vertical and vice versa, you can achieve pretty advanced layouts. Okay, how to build Listbox? Let's take a look at the constructor. As usual, you need a master, the window or the frame the Listbox belongs to. You have to set up the size of the Listbox, how many items going to be visible at a time. Quite interesting option, it's called export selection. I recommend it to set up it as a false, because if you don't set up export selection as a false, whenever you move your focus from one list box to another list box, the highlight disappears, so you don't see which item was highlighted. So it's a little bit confusing. So I recommend for this parameter, when you instantiate a list box, provide false. And 2 parameters are event handlers. We don't need them this lesson. We're going to need them later on, next lesson. So those 2 parameters can attach or can help you to attach to your list box a scroll bar. Right now, I don't have it. I just scrolling using mouse wheel, touchpad, or up and down keys, but next lesson I am going to make my list boxes maybe a little bit easier to handle. I am going to add to the right side of each list box scroll bar, but not now. So that's the constructor. The methods, the most common, the most popular methods you may apply to Listbox objects. First of all, you have to populate your Listbox. You have to prepare a list or a tuple, set of strings, and then using insert method, you basically prepare or initialize your list box. The selection done by the user, of course, user manipulates, user selects items in a list box, but sometimes you want to do it programmatically as a programmer, so a useful method is selection set. So when I start my app, using selection set method, I programmatically selected the very first items in 3 list boxes. Binding, it's something new. So we are going to analyze today new event handling technique. It's called binding. Bind is a method, and usually it has 2 parameters, the type of the event and the event handler address. Of course, when you react on users' selections, you have to understand what he or she has done. So using car selection method, you can retrieve from the list box the actual selection or the current selection. Form class, again we're using composition to build form. So you see instance variables. I have a mixer. Choices is just a tuple to populate my list boxes. I have a frame and I have label and box. Label and box. So those prefixes LBL and LBX sometimes quite useful because they allow us to save on names. Red is both label and list box because I use LBL for labels, prefix LBL, and prefix LBX for the list boxes. When I change something in any of those three list boxes, I am going to call on change event handler. So one event handler going to basically be attached to all three list boxes, and of course my class supposed to have constructor. So you see form class data members and function members. If we using C++ terminology, sometimes we call instance variables data members and methods we call them member functions. Anyway, what is a binding? Binding is more universal. I think it's time to get to the coding. Main script is still the same. I don't think I have to show you the main script. The only thing you may change is this, of course. You may adjust the dimensions, but throughout the course, main script and no changes. Now, binding. We used to attach event handler to the widgets using parameter command. This approach is simple, very nice, and kind of limited. Not all the widgets have parameter command. So there is more flexible approach when you bind widget and event handler using special method bind. So that's what we are going to apply here. And it's more universal because now you can use it for any widget. And it's more powerful because in an event handler, you're going to get some information about that event, and it may be helpful. So let's get into the coding. So what you see is my constructor. I created a label. That's my list box items. You see what I did? I prepared a tuple. Of course, you may have hundreds, even thousands of items in a list box. You're not limited. I created a frame for 6 widgets, lines 13, 14, and then I'm working on my first group. So my frame is 6 widgets or 3 groups. So I create red color label, line 17. Now I'm using horizontal placement. I create a list box. I instantiated list box in line 20. and I push it to my frame using pack method, line 21. Line 23 is very important. That's how you initialize your list box. And pay attention, you don't provide the name of the tuple, you provide it with the asterisk. Asterisk, it's a special operation you may apply for tuples and lists. And what it does, actually, it extracts the values from the tuple. So, kind of unpack. You unpack tuple and you get from the tuple or from the list only the actual values. So be aware, it's kind of popular operator in Python. Sometimes in some functions you need to pass just the name of the container. Sometimes you extract values and you provide the asterisk. It depends on your situation. Then I set up selection for my first item, line 24, and line 26, that's the most important. That's a new technique we apply. So bind method has two parameters, the type of the event. You can check Python reference. All the events in Python, they have names, they standardized, they classified. In my case, I wanna handle Listbox select event, and that's my handler. It's a method. It's going to be called anytime my user changed the selection of any of those three list boxes. So again, please don't just watch, try to type what you see, try to run it. A green and blue group are identical. Green group and blue groups, they are the same. And the event handler, it's surprisingly simple. Surprisingly simple because now I'm using car selection method. It can gives me the number of the item, not the actual item. The number of the item the user selected, and it may be tuple too. That's the trick. If you allow multiple choice on your list box, car selection may be not just one number, it may be many numbers. So it's a tuple, and that's why again I apply asterisk to extract from the tuple all the values. In my case, it's just a number. My tuple has just one number, but still I need this operator. Be careful, if you miss it, your program won't compile. And then I just using simple formula, convert the number of the items selected in the list into the color code. My items are from 0% to 100%. Now my colors are from 0 to 255. I mix the color string in line 57 and I apply the new color to my mixer in line 58. So that's basically how I can work with the list boxes. Next lesson we are going to attach scroll bars. Any list box going to have on the right scroll bar. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your likes, your comments, your subscriptions. All the best. See you tomorrow, guys. Keep writing code, please. Bye-bye.